And from that, we go to the French newspapers. Dipti is with us here on set. We're going to start with that battle in Aleppo that we talked an awful lot about yesterday morning, in fact. Libération is talking about it, though, on its front page this morning, Dipti.
Wars within a war, that's what Libé says on its front page. Stuart, the newspaper reports that 300,000 people are trapped in Aleppo right now as the battle for the city intensifies. And in a sense, several groups are really fighting their own wars within this battle itself.
And Libération really saying that this could be a major turning point in this 5-year conflict now.
That's right, a crucial turning point, in particular in Aleppo, where there's a complex battle taking place. You have soldiers for the Syrian regime and their allies backed by Iran's Shiite militia and Hezbollah. There are also Kurdish militants who are being supported by Russian airstrikes. And on top of that, there are around 20 other rebel groups, some of them like the Free Syrian Army, who are backed by the US, but a lot of them are sort of Salafist rebel groups like the Fateh al-Sham Front, which was previously known as al-Nusra. Now, the Syrian population has been suffering interminable days and nights in Aleppo and Manbij, another city in the north of Syria. They've been forced to survive, Libération says in its editorial, they've been forced to survive repeated blunders by the US-led coalition, famine, chemical attacks. This, quote, Western lethargy, if you like, has sort of allowed Vladimir Putin and Bashar al-Assad to create their own real playground, if you like, this sort of jeu macabre, which is the title of this editorial.
Now, we've also been reporting this week, the US has begun focusing on another war front against the Islamic State group. This time it's in Libya, isn't it?
Yeah, this is a top story on Le Figaro. It's entitled Daesh en déroute. That's what it says. The Islamic State group, Daesh being the name for the Islamic State group, is being pushed back due to intense U.S. airstrikes on the city of Sirte, which is the group's so-called headquarters. But the paper is rather alarmist, saying the more we push them back, the greater the risk is that they're going to launch more and more attacks on European and Western soil.
Yeah, and also alarmist because they're saying as well that it might not just be the Islamic State group launching this attack, but also maybe from other offshoots or other groups just inspired by the jihadists.
Well, one of their allies is Boko Haram in Nigeria. The group has just named its new leader, Stuart, Abu Mossad al-Banawi, and their reign of terror continues in the region. As La Croix says on its front page, in Africa, people must flee Boko Haram, not famine or any other thing they might have to flee. The paper looks at the plight of 2.5 million people who are living in the Lake Chad region who've been forced out of their homes because of a lack of security due to ongoing violence and instability. It's a region that even the Chadian, Nigerian, Niger and Cameroonian armies have still not been able to sort of secure and protect.
Let's stay on the topic of terrorism. The website Slate, looking at the Islamic State group's secret cell from where they program attacks from afar.
Well, that cell is called EMNI, E-M-N-I. It's not so secret, I guess, if Slate is talking about it in other media, but Slate is looking at revelations actually made in the New York Times. EMNI allegedly enables jihadists to launch attacks from afar, from beyond their territories, and to send new recruits back into their home countries to launch domestic attacks. As Slate says, the cell is responsible for, quote, exporting terrorism into the world, very frightening sort of phrase to use. This is, of course, a big issue that here in Europe leaders are dealing with, that sort of domestic terrorism carried out by radicalized locals.
Yeah, a bit of a sad reality with war, I suppose. And the issue of child soldiers is something that the website Lobs is looking at today.
Well, I guess child soldiers historically has been a part of several wars. Stuart, that's another big issue that EU leaders should be looking at. That's according to Lobs, the website. The return to European countries of Islamic State group child soldiers, in other words, those born and raised within the organization. This is according to a report released by Europol last month. It's believed that around 31,000 women are pregnant within the organization. And the fear is that these child soldiers could be a security threat for EU member states, and they could ensure the future generation of these jihadists. In fact, the IS group members call these child soldiers the Caliphate's, quote, lion cubs. From the age of 10, they're trained to use Kalashnikovs, and even more frighteningly, to mimic executions.
Something a little bit lighter to end with. Tipsy's got a bit of an ABC for us, or should that be really an ABC? Because it's Le Figaro's alphabet guide to the Olympics.
Well, if you don't speak French, Stuart, you'll either need to learn very quickly
Or struggle.
or find someone who does. But it's a really nice sort of, as you said, lighthearted A to Z of the Olympics that's been published by Le Figaro. Just a few, for instance, R is for refugees, for example. A group of refugees will be marching in tomorrow's opening ceremony under the IOC's flag, refugees coming from Syria, the Democratic Republic of Congo, or Ethiopia. And they'll be competing for gold in swimming, judo, and athletics. C is for Copacabana, the famed Brazilian beach, 4 kilometers stretch of white sands. Here among the bronzed Brazilian bodies, there'll be sailing, beach volleyball, and triathlon, all against a wonderful backdrop.
Okay, that's in Le Figaro today, so if you're into your Olympics, you know where to look. Thank you, Dipti. Dipti with the French paper. She'll be working in a couple of hours' time, of course, with the international ones here on France 24. Going to bring you up to date with all the latest news, including that attack in London in a couple of minutes' time. Do stay with us on France 24.